friends, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Alana. For this video, I am going to be talking about all the books that I read in January. I am back with a wrap-up. I am back in my reading game this year so far, even though it's like the second month of the year. For the month of January, I actually got through a good chunk of my TBR. I finished all but one of the books that I set out to finish, and even read maybe a couple extra, so I really love that for me. It made me feel very much like I was succeeding in life again, so here we are. But I read 6 books in the month of January. I had 4 5-stars, 1 3-star, and 1 4-star. The first book I read was Marked by PC and Kristen Cass. This was the first book in the House of Night series. I think I told y'all in my original TBR video that I plan on trying to read this entire series within this year. I read this, gave it 3 stars, first book of the year. Wasn't too terrible. This is also a reread for me, so I don't think I felt anything new reading it, but I still enjoyed it overall. It was still kind of cringy in certain areas just because of the fact that this was published, I believe, in like the 2010s, even maybe before that. So a lot of the things that are like maybe cool or relevant then don't really compare to now. Still enjoyed it, still enjoyed this world building that is happening, and I will be picking up the second book. So the next book I read in January was A Shadow Crown by Melissa Blair. So I reread this one and A Vicious Game just because of the fact that I knew I was going to be reading An Honored Vow, and I wanted to freshen up and reread the first 3 books before I picked up the last one. So I did reread the first one in December, which is why I'm not adding it to this list now. But I managed to speed listen to both of these before this 4th one came out. And of course I absolutely love them. Anytime I reread them, I fall more in love with the series just because of everything that it has within it. All the aspects that I really love in a fantasy, I feel like it has. So these were both 5 stars again, even though they're rereads. I'm just really grateful that I found this series. So then, of course, because I reread those, I then picked up An Honored Vow by Melissa Blair, which is the last book in the Halfling saga. I gave this 5 stars. I feel like this was a beautiful ending to the story. I feel like this was the only ending that I could really imagine happening. I got a little worried there at the end, but sis came through for us, and so I really appreciate how this went about. I obviously can't say anything really detailish about this just because of the fact that it is the 4th book and it's the last book, but I will say this carries the same themes as the first 3 books. The momentum was there, the action and the romance was there. I feel like nothing really diminished with it being the last book, and I feel like it really just let me appreciate these characters, especially our main character, so much, and I just really enjoy how her story came to an end. That's all I know how to express how I feel about this series and this book. I don't know what else to say. If you haven't seen me rant about this before, this series follows an assassin named Kira, and she is a halfling, which is, I believe, half elf, half fae, essentially. And so when the story starts, she is the king's blade, which means she is his top assassin. And he has conquered this world that they're in, and he has enslaved the halflings and forced the dark fae to, the other side of the land, essentially, where they, run their own thing. And so she has spent 60 years doing the king's bidding. And she is just tired, and she doesn't really have any hope anymore for freeing her people. So she spent the last good chunk of her time being a drunk. And when the story begins, she soon starts to realize how much she's let her inhibitions hinder her. And she knows she's not at her top best 100%. And so she encounters a rebel named the Shadow, and she realizes that he may be the only thing that could help her overthrow the king. And from there, we just get into the story. It has romance, it has political intrigue, it has action, war, assassins. I think it just has a little bit of everything, and I just really adore it. I feel like if you are starting to get into romantasy or you're not sure where to start, I feel like this series is a good one. First, it's already finished. It's only 4 books, and I feel like it has a little bit of everything for everybody. Now I gotta spend this year finding a new series to basically obsess over. Alright, the next book I read in January was A Fate of the Sun King by Nisha J. Tooley. This is the 3rd book in the Trial of the Sun Queen quartet. I don't know the official name of this series, so I've just been calling it that. I gave this 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm very much intrigued to see what the last book is gonna entail, especially because the way this ended, I feel like everybody's gonna die in the last book. This story follows a girl named Lore who has been imprisoned by the Aurora King all of her life. And so when you start, she doesn't know why, you don't know why she's there, and she is actually broken out of that prison by the Sun King and is forced to take part in his trials to become the new Sun Queen. So she doesn't know why he's broken her out of this prison, and she doesn't know why he wants her to be a part of this competition so badly, but she is thinking this is her only chance to freedom, and so she dives right in. If you read the first book, it definitely gives like Hunger Games in the sense that they're going through this competition and there are deadly trials, and it really is to the death. But I feel like it's also different in the sense that when you are in the first book, you start to kind of realize that there's more information that Lore is hiding from even you as the reader, as much as everybody else around her. And so you are also trying to figure out like what's weird about this story, because I feel like I was reading it and I just kept going, okay, this is happening, but why is this her reaction? Like, we're not getting a true explanation of why her reaction is so weird until the very end. I really enjoyed that about the first book, and that's why I was so intrigued to continue on. And I think from there, the story has definitely blossomed, because not only are you getting her viewpoint, you're also getting the viewpoint of the son of the Aurora King, and he's trying to figure out why Lore is so important to her father. So with this 3rd book, obviously it continues on. I'm not going to go into too many details. I do like where we are within the story, and every book adds a new perspective that I enjoy. So when you read the 2nd book, there are some flashback perspectives, and so when you're in this book, there are flashback perspectives, and then there's also a new perspective that is brought forth. And so I actually really enjoy that. So with the 2nd book, those flashback perspectives are kind of explaining how Lore's story came to be. And then in this one, we're getting the flashback chapters of how this world came to be and why there are certain traditions that are upheld by the rulers of these kingdoms and how they came to be traditions. So again, I feel like this author has just done a really good job of keeping the mystery alive throughout all 3 books so far, but also I feel like there's new elements that she's bringing into the story that are different than I've seen before, and so that's why I am so kind of hooked on seeing what's gonna happen next. And with this last book, I'm definitely intrigued to see how she's gonna close out this series. Alright, and then the last book I read for January is Mile High by Liz Tomford. I can't remember why I decided to read this book. I think I may have saw it somewhere. Maybe I saw it on Twitter. I don't know. But this is a hockey romance, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think I've read a hockey romance before, but I do enjoy sports romances. It's just I hadn't really found one that intrigued me enough to check it out yet. And so I really am glad that I found this because it was a 5-star read. This follows a girl who is a flight attendant whose brother is like a star basketball player. And so she moves to Chicago to be closer to her twin brother, and she gets hired to be like a private flight attendant on this private plane for the Chicago hockey team. She meets one of the star players who has this reputation of being kind of a player, like jackass kind of character, but it's not really him on the inside, he just plays it. And they slowly kind of fall for each other throughout the book. And I mean, like, I say slowly, but it's like medium speed of falling in love with each other. I really love this. I really loved how deep they got as they slowly got to know each other. I loved that he has this persona of being such a asshole to the world, but when it was just them, he was truly himself. And I just really loved that she was one of the few people that got to see that. I loved that their relationship started with him making it a point to annoy her constantly on the flights to their games and stuff. And then she slowly started to warm up to him because of that. And I just like really enjoyed this story because I feel like they truly started out as friends and then it like toppled over into more, but that foundation of friendship really started to form. But I also loved seeing him in the atmosphere with his other teammates and seeing him be himself with them as well, especially his best friend and his best friend's family. So I am potentially going to pick up the next few books in this series as well, because I just really loved the way that the author wrote this. So yeah, if you're looking for a good hockey romance, definitely recommend this. Those are all the books that I read in January. I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below. If you found some favorites in January that you just want to tell somebody about, please totally let me know down below. I love hearing about what people have read, all the books they love, everything about that. If you like the video, please like that down below. If you are not good at commenting, I'm gonna go ahead and say leave me an emoji. Leave me a heart emoji because like I'm in February as we're filming this and you're gonna watch this in February. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. You are all sunflowers in a world full of weeds.